Welcome everybody to the Blue Lake City Council meeting. Go ahead and stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. City Manager Short, would you please establish a quorum?
Mayor Swatsky?
Here.
Councilmember Napier?
Here.
Councilmember Lewis Loso?
Here.
Councilmember Scafani?
Here.
And Councilmember Bailiff?
Here.
Great. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'm wondering if we want to make any changes.
Okay. Is there something you'd like to make a change to? We do try to not do that unless necessary.
Well, it seems to me that item number 17 should happen before 12,
Okay.
unless I'm misunderstanding the intent of 17.
City Manager Short, I thought we were not having any appointments tonight before we had the discussion, so it looks like we are having the appointments. And
They
then-
were on the agenda, and Jill thought that they were supposed to remain, so I deferred to her
Okay.
coordination on that. We can certainly pull those items. I think you probably have people in the audience that are here for that, though.
Right.
And we do have 3 more for the Public Safety Commission on the dais that we received today.
Okay. What does the council wish to do? Do we wish to reverse the order and have 17 come before the appointments of our commission?
That would be my desire, yes.
As a motion to move that around? Anyone else wish to move that before we go through the appointment process?
That makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll second that
We
motion.
have a first and a second to go ahead and move item 17 before our appointments, which is item 12. So we have a first.
one.
What was that?
I have one, to remove item 16, the planning commission recruitment, from remove it.
Okay. Do you want to wait till we get to the item?
Okay.
Have you spoken with anyone else about your concerns about that? or-
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I can
okay,
explain what it is, but.
it's okay.
Well, we can talk about the desire to recruit, maybe independently from appointing somebody, if we'd like.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. So we'll keep that item on there then. All right, so we're moving item 17 before, after 11. Great. I'll go ahead and open it. We need a motion to approve that, though. Or we have a motion and a second, excuse me, and we now need to go ahead and vote on that. All those in favor of moving 17 before 11, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, we've amended the agenda.
Can you tell me who made the motion, who seconded it?
Elise Scafani made the
Okay, Elise
motion.
made it.
And who was the second? I apologize. Michelle Lewis Lusso.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Moving on to public comment. The public is invited to present petitions, make announcements, and provide other information to the city council that is relevant to the scope and authority of the city of Blue Lake that is not on the agenda. Everyone will be provided up to 3 minutes, and we're allotting 15 minutes to the public comment session. Who would like to speak? Yes, Tim, go ahead. Great.
A small group of us have formed the Bike Park Alliance to see through the bike park getting done. We've met with Ms. Short over here, and she seems really enthusiastic and very supportive of the project. We're doing a fundraiser February 28th, the Mad Scramble. I sent you an email recently, Emily. I hope you can help us with advertising that. And that's going to be a fundraiser also for the bike park. It's through Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association. We have over a dozen sponsors, and if I didn't mention the date, it's February 28th, and we've already submitted our application for a special event. It's going to be over in the field, over off Mondo Way, and yeah, I hope y'all can make it.
Great, thank you. Any further public comment? Julie Christie, go ahead.
Sorry for the lag. Are you guys able to hear your Zoom people okay tonight? I'll do another tester. Okay, yep, doing all the mic test. So I would like to suggest that all our council people and in-house people speaking tonight do their best to speak loudly for everyone listening. I think a cool investment for the council would be a conference speaker. I've checked them out before, mentioned them to Justin and stuff. So thank you, Justin, for being there recording. Emily, if you're running Zoom again tonight, thank you very much. But I think a conference speaker or something that we could do to kind of amplify everybody's voices, and just make everything a little clearer. Now, don't judge me. I'm in my barn with old headphones, so I appreciate you can even hear me. But I do know like Marty's come in the past, had trouble hearing. Terry, I don't mean to pick on you and John just a teeny bit, but always speaking up very clearly and loudly, like Jill kind of punched that out in the past. And Jenny, thank you for coming along. This was your first meeting with us and really looking forward to having you on board. So thank you for taking that on. And thank you for the Bike Alliance for being there tonight. I think it's really good that we keep all our T's and dots figured out. I run some other clubs that work on county property, and I've helped with the Blake Arena in the past for decades. So always keeping in mind that we have the proper stuff set up ahead of time when we get our volunteers, with the release forms that the city has, with these clubs actually taking the next step, getting their nonprofits, getting their insurance. Everything helps out when we want to have these projects that actually everybody like takes these responsibilities for liability. I did reach out to McKinleyville because they recently are working on their bike park. And my main curiosity with them was the planning and engineering. Like, what kind of process did they have to go through that? Is that something they did? And yeah, so I mean, if we're missing any gaps there with so far where we're at, so it doesn't bite us in the butt later, I think reaching out to even Scott Binder to get us some resources with McKinleyville, who was coordinating theirs, maybe even some of these bike alliances already know that, but making sure that we put those places in first before we get too far ahead of ourselves is where I'm at. And I do feel like McKinleyville kind of went through a process that we didn't do out here in Blue Lake, and that's the only reason I am putting it out there. But thank you everybody for volunteering and doing everything. We just got to make sure that we don't get stuck losing stuff because of negligence and whatnot. It's nothing personal at all. I want to see things succeed, and that's how we're going to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, let's bring it back to council. Moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? None? There was a letter that did come in from Kent Sawatsky on, I believe it was, which one was it, Jenny?
Jay.
Thank you. To approve of professional service agreement between City of Blue Lake and, I'm going to butcher this name, Colantuno, Highsmith, and Whiteley PC. And you've all had the chance to read that. Do we need to read that out loud or anything?
No.
Okay, great.
And it's also on the table.
Okay, awesome. All right, can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda then? Oh, wait, excuse me. Does the public wish to comment on the consent agenda? Yes, Adeline, go ahead.
Adeline Jones. In looking at the minutes, I am wondering why there often is not a motion and second to adjourn. And sometimes I even notice that it's unclear when the meeting actually did adjourn. It'll say that you came out of closed session, but it doesn't actually say what time the meeting adjourned. So that's just a little issue that I have with the minutes as I was going through them. Otherwise, besides a few little typos and things, there was nothing wrong with them. But I'm just wondering if the new protocol is now that you're not making a motion to adjourn and then seconding it and then moving to adjourn. Because I just noticed that in the minutes, just something to look at.
We were told we didn't have to make a motion to
Okay.
adjourn, so,
Okay.
have a motion to adjourn, the
Yeah.
chair could just adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
So
I've
that's
seen
what we're
that
doing.
done. It's seeing no business, the meeting is adjourned. I've seen that kind of thing done too. And then the other thing was just, you come out of closed session, but then oftentimes it didn't say what time. I'm assuming that as soon as you came out of closed session, that's when you adjourned, was right after that. That's all I could determine from the minutes. Anyway, thank you.
Maybe that's something we can include in the future, is the,
That's no problem.
include that. Thank you. All right. What was that? Julie, go ahead.
I'm just gonna piggytail off our last speaker. So I had that same thought and concern for like supervisors not giving a timestamp like while back. And I looked it up and actually it's not mandated within your guys' guidelines, but it's just preferred that you do. So just putting that out there, but I do agree, like that's always kind of nice. But do it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Last call for public comment on the consent agenda. Seeing none, can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion made by Louis Lusso, seconded by Bayless. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, hearing none. We pass the consent agenda. Moving on to item number 7, approve resolution 1249, declaration of certification of results from the special 2026 municipal recall election. City Manager Short, would you like to fill us in on this?
Sure. What you have before you are the certified results from Juan. He's here if you have any questions for him. Basically, the final tally was yeses of 176 and nos of 220. And so you have a resolution that you need to adopt, basically accepting those certified results.
Great. Does council have any questions for staff or Juan? Mr. Cervantes, sorry. Does the public have any questions?
Or comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Adeline Jones. And in seeing how the vote went, it looks like the results show that we had only 45% of people in Blue Lake participated in the special election, according to this article in the Times Standard. Out of the 220 votes no and 176 vote yes, that's a difference of 44 votes, which I might add is not a mandate, not a landslide. So it certainly shows that there is a good deal of people that felt that this council person needed to be recalled. Thank you.
Can I add one other thing?
Sure, Jenny, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to let you know that it turns out that the cost of this didn't end up being the $15,000 that we had anticipated. The election office did a really good job of controlling their costs, and people took flex time and stuff. So it only ended up being a total of $5,712.79.
Great.
Thank you.
Julie Christie, go ahead.
I'm glad, Jenny, you put that information out real quick because that was going to be part of my comment. Was really unfortunately the need of that financial situation at this time. And I'm so happy that the elections office really was able to help out with making it kind of a minimal burden. And to everybody that got put on the original recall and now Elise, I just want to really commend you guys for sticking through all the sticky mud. You guys still are doing an amazing job. We've got so much to do, and I feel like this town doesn't really quite understand how blessed we are to have you yet, but that time's coming. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Cervantes.
I really want to just emphasize the cost savings were really about staff. Staff really went above and beyond to internalize the goal of making sure that we did right by the city of Blue Lake. And I think when I mean staff, I don't just mean out of my office. City Hall was an incredible partner when it came to making this whole process accessible for the city of Blue Lake. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Last call for public comment. Bringing it back to council, does anyone wish to make any final comments before we move on beyond this point in our history?
I wanted to share that I believe I am thankful that the Office of Elections was able to help us out with cost. I do want to note that there was quite a lot of cost beyond that incurred through the Office of Elections, and that was in terms of our own staff time and in terms of special legal counsel that was secured to advise the city through this process. So there's an excess of $5,000 in addition to the cost of the election. So I want to make sure that folks are aware of, the full and true cost of this election. And we don't actually have a full total, because a lot of those costs are spread over quite a few weeks. But the legal bill alone was well in excess of $4,000. So I just want to point that out.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Tracy, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I just want to say, although I haven't really been much focused on city politics or anything, I'm just really relieved that that whole recall nonsense is done, and now you guys can move forward as a team, and we can all just, move forward. So I'm thankful you guys, stuck with it through there, and that now we can just leave that in the past. I realize there are costs, and that's something that we can't avoid, but at least now we can just focus on going ahead as a positive team together. So thank you, guys.
Great, thank you, Tracy. Yeah, I mean, so everyone's aware, there has been a social and personal cost to all of this as well. So it's not just a financial cost, having been involved in the process. Just want the community to be aware of that. All right, does anyone wish to entertain a motion or make any final comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the results.
Resolution 1249?
That would be the one.
So Councilmember Maypeer has made a motion to approve Resolution 1249, Declaration of Certification of Results from the Special 2026 Municipal Recall Election. Does anyone wish to second that?
Second.
Seconded by Bayless. Is this a roll call vote?
I'm pretty sure the other two items are important that were recommended for action.
Oh, I'm
For
sorry.
accepting the certified results and also directing the city clerk to file with the Secretary of State.
Okay. Shall I continue on then?
Please.
Furthermore, in my motion, it would be to approve Resolution 1249, declaring result from the special municipal recall election dated January 6, 2026, and item 3, pursuant to section 34459 and 34460 of the Government Code, the acting city clerk is directed to file the adopted measure to the Secretary of State office.
Motion made by Napier, seconded by Bayless. All those in favor, is this a roll call vote or is it?
It's not listed as one, so I'm going to say no.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Alrighty, moving on to item number 8. Approve proposed framework and timeline for FY 2026-2027 budget development and adoption. Discuss proposed budget monitoring and controls. City Manager Short, would you please fill us in on that?
Yes, so this item has kind of 3 parts. What has happened is there's been some discussion amongst council about the frequency that financial statements should come to you. And I was speaking with Terry Bayless earlier today about what the financial management policy manual requires, which is from 2002, by the way. Definitely needs some updating, but it is for quarterly, which is option 1. And I basically have laid out for the first quarter, those will be presented to you in May and such, so on, so that we have enough time after that period closes for all of the invoices from consultants and other vendors to come in and be posted prior to you receiving those statements. The second option, if you want a more frequent set of financial statements, is to do them every other month. And so I laid out a similar schedule where it's 45 days after the period closes, but it's 6 times a year instead of 4. I would need to bring a resolution back to you to modify the financial policy if you want to go with option number 2, but I want to get some input from you guys. The second thing that we found is as the Budget Ad Hoc Committee worked through the details of the fiscal year 25-26 budget, we ended up with quite a list of items that still need to be worked on. They're more about financial planning and fiscal policies. And so my suggestion to you is that you go ahead and create an ad hoc committee whose job it is to look at the finances in general and not just the budget alone. And so some of the things that they would be looking at are both short and midterm fiscal strategies. They would perform the review of the city's revenue streams. They would look at all the expenditures with me. We'd talk about debt obligations, what the fund balances are, cash versus true fund balances, and then assist in evaluating impacts of some proposed policy changes, along with what do we want to do for capital improvements over the next 3 to 5 years. So this would be a two-person committee. It could be made up of the same people who were on the budget committee because they're very familiar with the process, but it would be a separate entity that had a broader scope in what they were going to be reviewing. If you set up this ad hoc committee, I suggest they also take care of the budget for fiscal year 26-27, and that in our next item where we set the calendar for council, that we go ahead and pick some dates in April for that committee to meet. And then the third thing is I've just kind of laid out what my plan is for preparation of the next budget. We are at the end of month 7 in a budget we are hopefully going to adopt today. And I don't want to be here again for the next one. So my plan is by the end of March to have met with all of the department heads in the staff and to look at both how is the 25-26 budget performing, and then also what do we want to start with for 26-27 projections, and take some real hard looks at what makes up those totals, what vendors are we paying to make up these amounts, so that we can really make some choices on whether we need those things or not. And then once staff is comfortable with the proposed budget, have it come to the ad hoc committee in April, hopefully for one meeting, but it's possible that it'll take 2 meetings in April to be able to make some revisions and then do a second meeting with the committee. My goal is that the committee is comfortable making a recommendation to council to adopt the budget, that we've gotten to the point where they're that comfortable with it. And then I would like to come to you guys in May with a first draft for you to look at, with the idea being that if you're happy with it, you'll adopt it. But if you'd like to see some revisions, we'll do some revisions and come back in June so that we have a budget that's adopted before the fiscal year starts.
Sounds good.
Lisa Scott, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Is this going to be an ad hoc or a standing committee?
I would like it for it to be an ad hoc committee. I don't think we need it to be a standing committee from one year to the next necessarily, because the work we're going to do is so specific to the questions at hand. And I think once we get those questions answered and a plan in place, I don't think it's something we're going to have to do every year. It will just then become a budget committee.
Okay.
Jenny, what's the prep time on each of these items? Option 1 and option 2, is it significant or is it?
If we had an accountant, it might be less problematic. You guys probably are not aware that we found out from Jackson and Eklund on Friday that the staff person that was there that serviced the city for decades is going out again on a health leave that's probably going to be pretty long. And so they don't have another person to put into that position. So thankfully, we hired a finance manager that can renew her CPA's license in a very short period of time. And she's going to try to find out about trying to get as much information as possible to start being prepared to do these things. That being said, I do not know at this point where we're at in having the ability to do the monthly journal entries that have to be done for us to be able to prepare financial statements. It's a little uncertain as to what is done by our existing finance manager and what's done by the accountant and where that dividing line is, because he's always produced them. And so I don't know how much work he does before we give them to you. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer.
Well, I just want to make sure that, we're not overburdening you, but also we're receiving information in a timely manner, so.
Yeah, I mean, quarterly would be ideal if you guys are okay with that for the rest of this fiscal year, and then maybe we can revisit it again this summer when our staff is a little more up to speed.
That was gonna be my question as well, is like, what's the sustainability of that plan and what's gonna be the impact to you and your staff during this time? Because
Yeah.
ideally, for me, I'm just gonna speak for myself, I would prefer option two.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I thank you for, laying out the no direct impact and the alternatives, but if it doesn't look like this is gonna be feasible during this transitional
Yeah.
kind of end of budget cycle time,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe we should revisit it.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to doing them monthly, so even the idea of only doing them quarterly is foreign to me. I think it's important that, even if they're
Yeah.
not perfect, to at
Yeah.
least have something that's a draft in front of you. And so we may need to go, in that direction to some extent, where we produce draft financial statements for you, so at least you're confident the revenues and expenditures are correct, even if the adjusting entries haven't been made.
Right.
And if this is off topic, let me know right away, but how are audits from the past, is there any, will we talk about that at a different time?
I'm happy to answer your question. What Jackson and Eklund has committed to is making sure that the 23-24 audit, which really is not the audit, it's really just the closing entries in preparation for the audit, is completed before he leaves, and then they won't do 24-25.
Okay.
And so I've talked to Carrie about what it would take to take that on. Do we need to try to put a quick RFP out to get somebody else to do it? So I'll know more probably in the February meeting on the status of that.
Great, thank you. Staff have any other, I'm sorry, council have any other questions about comments?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, more information more frequently is great, but that'll come in time.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're pretty far into the process this year, and it's like we have already done, a mid-year review.
Right.
And so I would be perfectly comfortable with just doing it.
Okay, good.
Okay, does the public wish to comment on item number 1 of this, which is the frequency of which we receive the reports? Julie, go ahead.
Okay, I hope you guys can still hear me good. So I'm just gonna kind of repeat a suggestion I had back when Jill was there. So Jill helped out at the county fair board there for a bit, and I stay pretty consistent with them as well. So they actually have a platform that's prepared by the Lighthouse Group. They give out monthly reports, and man, they're great. I don't know if you guys get curious, look on the Humboldt County Fair Board page and go to their financial reports. You'll kind of get a look through their minutes. They're horrible at posting minutes. They only have stuff from January, but you can still see the platform they're using. And I think if we could maybe adopt something like that, and Jackson and Eklund, I mean, longtime business people of them too, great place. Maybe even forward that to them to be like, hey, maybe can we use something like this to get projections so it's not so much of a burden on you guys? And as far as the time frame for kicking this out in February and whatnot, I totally concur with that. And Kat's just her prior comments there too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last call for comment on this item number 1 of this topic. All right, bring it back to council. Do we wish to appoint an ad hoc? Or I should ask, would the 2 current members like to continue to be on the ad hoc?
I would.
Okay,
Okay, is anyone opposed to that?
have at it.
Okay. Great, so
Yeah, it's a long on-ramp.
does the public wish to comment on that? It's Terry Bayless and Kat Napier. Any other comments? Okay. Let's see. We have to review and approve the proposed framework and timeline for FY 26-27.
I would like to move that we approve the proposed framework and timeline for fiscal year 26-27, budget development, and adopt the ad hoc finance committee as Kat and Terry.
So if that's a part 3, should we talk about it or no?
Do we wish to, we have a motion. Do you want the motion to, does anyone wish a second, or do we wish to continue further discussion on it?
I just wanted to clarify the motion that we would go with option 1 quarterly until we revisited that.
Yes.
Okay.
could amend that. Thank you.
Okay, so you're acceptable with that amendment?
Yes, so three things. We're
Okay.
going to approve the proposed framework and timeline for fiscal year 26-27. We're going to appoint the ad hoc finance committee, and we're going to opt for option number 1 in terms of quarterly financial report presentation.
We have a motion by Scafani,
Second.
seconded by Louis Lusso. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, it's passed.
Thank you
Moving-
for your work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. Appreciate it.
And Jill, too.
Moving on to item number 9, review and approve the schedule of city council meetings for 2026.
So your regular meetings are scheduled for the fourth Tuesday of every month at 6:30. There are a couple of dates during the 2026 schedule that we are proposing that you consider making some changes. Mainly because there is a municipal election on November 3rd, and we only have 30 days to certify the election results. And so we could do that at the November 24th meeting, which is the regularly scheduled meeting, but that is the same week as Thanksgiving. So we need to make sure that we had enough for a quorum on that date. We also have the proposed meeting for December is on the 22nd, which also is the same week as Christmas. And so some of the options that you have is to go ahead and you could move the 24th meeting to the 17th in November, or you could pick December 8th and just kind of do a combined meeting and then add a special meeting if you needed an additional meeting during that period of time. So those are the questions at hand. We'd like to set the entire calendar for the year. And the April meeting for the new finance committee.
My concern with the November shift, I guess there is that question that's in here, should a special meeting be scheduled to swear in the newly elected officials in December? Because last year, that certification took a long time. And I'm concerned that we would not be able to wrap that up, well, certainly by the 17th,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's just a little side note.
It's,
Go ahead.
in the election years where I've been participating, we've had a special meeting in early December where we accepted the election results and swore in the new council members. So I think, and the way we've been going, it seems like we don't want to plan on going a month without a meeting, or necessarily to try to combine 2 months. So I think, and I mean, nobody likes to have a meeting on a holiday week necessarily, but I would think that either we move our fourth Tuesday meetings on those 2 months to make them not on the holiday week, and/or also plan to have a special meeting in December.
Yeah. And you could slide them both down just 1 week to December 1st and December 29th. And that would keep them staggered the same way.
Wait, say that again?
If you move the meeting on November 24th to December 1st, which is the next Tuesday,
Okay.
and then the meeting on the 22nd to the 29th, that just shifts everything down 1 week so they're off of the weeks that have holidays on them.
Right, except we might not have results, election results certified by the 1st of December. I believe there's
That's
30 days.
28 days from November 3rd, I mean, hopefully,
Right.
but yeah.
Right, but there's, I think the Office of Elections has a full 30 days
Yeah.
to certify it, so,
Which is probably why Joe put December 8th in.
yeah. I mean, in the past 2 election cycles, we've been the second week.
And we can pick 2, and then when we get into December, if it turns out we don't need the second one between like Christmas and New Year, we could cancel it.
And we've been talking about having 2 meetings a month, but have them be shorter. Is that something that would be appealing to you at all? So it would be like shorter meetings, or is the prep time so much that it's better just to have it all?
The prep is pretty significant, but I'm optimistic once we get our city clerk in a couple of weeks, it's gonna get better.
Okay,
So maybe we should talk about that again in February.
Sure.
And see once she's here and stuff, and she goes through the first process for the 24th, how that works out between the two of us.
okay.
It was a lot of work this time.
We just got we used to have 2 meetings a month, and we got in some trouble for having special meetings, even though that's how it used to be before.
Right.
But I know that we kind of wanted to make them into regular so people weren't surprised by them.
And I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to change your ordinance to do that, because
Okay.
I think that's called out in the ordinance, that
Yeah.
it's once a month.
Great.
So that'll take a couple months, 2 readings.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And does the council wish to make any more comments on the calendar?
Well, I would be interested in moving that November meeting to the 17th. And then if we think we need to go later in December for the special meeting for the election, we could do that, but the 8th would be 30 days. 30 days would have passed, so, I mean,
For the 15th.
yeah.
I suspect if you do the 17th, you won't be ready to swear people in or accept, certify the election results. You'd have to wait until the December meeting to do that,
Yeah,
which is okay.
I mean, I'd be interested in going with December 1st and December 29th. I mean, I'm pretty flexible either way, so.
So, first we can- is any, so you want to go ahead
That's
and try
good.
for the 1st and the 29th? Do you want
Or the 17th and the 15th.
Yeah.
I don't know.
to, why don't, you know,
We should just shift them all to the middle of the month.
you want to just go through month by month, and if we,
But we're
everyone,
gonna,
is everyone good with January?
if we shift too much stuff, we're gonna be running into other commissions.
Sure, that's
Having
true.
meetings on the same day in the same place.
Yeah.
So we probably don't wanna switch them just because.
Well, and the 15th of December would ensure that the election results would be in.
The
They were
8th
in by the 10th.
Eighth
Yeah.
will as well.
Yeah, but if we did it on the 15th, we could just plan for one meeting in December too, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Just want to confirm everyone's great with the rest of the calendar. We're just focusing on December. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
right now.
So what's on the table?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of different ones tossed out. It sounded like we had November 17th coming forward, and was it December 15th? Were those the one pair? What's our ordered pairs here?
The
We had
2
the-
I heard were the 17th and the 15th, and the
Okay.
1st and the 29th.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Exactly, the city combination.
Why don't we just,
the 17th and the 8th, and then cancel the 22nd if you don't need a meeting, the second meeting in December.
I like that one.
Okay.
Anyone else
So the 17th and the 8th?
of December?
The
Okay.
17th of November, the 8th of December for the new council to be sworn in, and leave the 22nd on the 22nd, but plan to cancel it if you don't need it.
Is anyone not okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right. Is there any other sub-items to this item? Let me check here. Does the public wish to comment on this calendar? Adeline, do you have any comments?
Sure, why not? It occurs to me that the last election we had, I believe it was on the 10th that we ended up swearing in the new council person. So my personal preference would be November 17th and December 15th.
Thank you very much. Julie Christie, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys. Good delegation on that real quick. And I know it's not really the discussion item tonight, but it was brought up, and I would like to maybe get council to do a recommendation to staff that we do bring back up in February, potentially reviewing the ordinance for having 2 meetings a month. Now, we were doing them, and I can't recall that there was a motion by council or ordinance change at that time to not be doing that anymore. And so here's my theory on it. while we have kind of like a big load right now, it would be better to cancel a meeting than it would be to like shove out a special meeting. And I do understand the clerk coming in is awesome and gonna take a lot of that burden away, but as we evolve, while we still have a lot on our plates, maybe, and then we're meeting timelines better that way too. So you guys play the pros and cons on that and maybe request to have it brought back in February, I think would be awesome. Thank you.
All right, last call for public comment.
Can I make a quick comment? to
Sure.
Kind of dovetail
Let me
on what
bring it back.
Julie said.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think in the past, a lot of our special meetings were posted for the first time with just that 72-hour mark. And so if we're planning to have one and we know 2 or 3 or 4 weeks out, if we could get that on the calendar, so that folks are aware that that's gonna be coming up, I think that would help a lot, just in keeping people aware of what's going on. Anytime we can put something on the calendar sooner instead of later, I think is appreciated by the public in general.
Thank you. Last call for public comment, council comment, or can we entertain a motion?
I would move that we accept this calendar with the changes that we have the November meeting on the 17th and a special meeting in December on the 8th.
Motion by Scafani,
Second.
seconded by Louis Lusso. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes. All right, moving on to approve resolution 1250 for appointment of the interim city clerk. City Manager Short, would you fill us in on this?
So this is hopefully going to be a very short time period that you have me as interim city clerk. We'll be doing this again as soon as you appoint an actual city clerk. But in the interim, we need to have a city clerk. Jill, as the interim city manager, had been appointed as the city clerk. So this is just the process of you adopting the motion that identifies me as that person until you have a city clerk. But it is a roll call vote.
Okay, great. All righty. Does the council have any questions? We've done this a couple times now. Hearing none, I'll open up the public. Does the public wish to comment on this item?
Adeline Jones. It's interesting that we're at this situation again, and I remember all of the brouhaha there was about our city manager, Mandy Mager, being the interim clerk. And out of necessity, that had to happen, and obviously this has to happen. So I think we just need to be open-minded about these things and give the person that steps up to these positions the respect they deserve, whoever that person is.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, let's go ahead and move this back to council. Do we wish to entertain a motion? Or more comments, more discussion?
So I make a motion that we approve resolution 1250, appointing Jenny Short as acting city clerk.
Motion made by Bailiff,
Second.
seconded by Louis Lusso. All those in favor say aye.
No, I gotta
Oh,
roll
excuse me,
call.
thank you. You told me that before.
It's okay. Mayor Swatsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Napier,
Aye.
Councilmember Louis Loso. Aye. Councilmember Scafani,
Aye.
Councilmember Bayless.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Moving on to the new item 11, which was 17, commission consolidation and recruitment discussion.
Well, 11's the budget.
11 is the budget.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that's after that. 11, receive and approve revised fiscal 25-26 budget. Resolution 1251. City Manager Short, would you fill us in on this item?
Yes, and Emily's going to do the PowerPoint presentation for me. Hopefully this goes well. So this is the fourth revision to the fiscal year 25-26 budget. A lot of what we looked at this time was related to personnel and the organization of that personnel. We reviewed the classification pay plan. We looked at whether to do a cost of living adjustment. We looked at the organizational chart quite a bit. And one of the things that you have in here is a suggestion for a change in our organizational chart. And we also looked at the position allocation table, and we've moved some of the staff around in how we have them allocated. So you will have Resolution 1251, that's approval of the budget, that hopefully you will adopt tonight so that we can go ahead and move forward with this. Jill prepared this slide for me. It's kind of a timeline of how we got to where we're at. So in July 3rd of 2025, the very first version was reviewed by you guys. In November, it came back with small revisions. It was number 2. In December of 23rd of 2025, the hope was that it was going to be adopted, but as we looked through it, one of the things we started noticing is an uncertainty as to whether or not all the labor had been captured in the amounts, and it turned out it had not. And so I'm glad that we waited a month to go ahead and adopt this. This version that we're presenting to you tonight, we are pretty confident in. We have met with the Budget Committee, and we received their recommendation for you to adopt the budget as we're presenting to you tonight, so I was excited about that. And then in March, we will, as I said before, we'll be looking at how is the budget performing for year end and start making projections for what we think those year end numbers will be to start the next budgeting cycle. I don't know how this is going to come up because Jill did it, parts of it. So part of what we did between your last meeting and this meeting is, as of January 13th, we actually compared every single line item on a year-to-date amount with what was being budgeted to make sure that we weren't under budgeting in any areas, and looked at every revenue stream that appeared that it wasn't going to perform up at the level that we had projected, and to determine why. Was that if there was a reason for it, then we left it as is. Like, for example, one of the things we did this with was the business licenses. And it, of course, mid-January, none of the business licenses have been paid yet because they're done on a calendar year. And so we went, okay, that's fine, we'll leave it as is. But we literally did that on a line-by-line basis to make sure that what we put forward this time was ground truth. We did create the special Fund 45 for the Blue Lake Bike and Skate Park. I went through and ran the reports on all of the funds that had been received into that as revenue, pretty much all donations, and then all of the expenditures that had already been made and had been posted into our accounting system. So what you now have in that column for Fund 45 is an accurate representation of what we think the donations will be this year and exactly how much has already been spent. We added Fund 11 and Fund 13 to the spreadsheet, even though they were zero for both the revenues and the expenditures this year. And part of the reason we did that is as I started looking through the cash balances for all the different funds, I found that these had cash balances, some of which are negative. And so we are going to come back with, I'm going to come back with an explanation of what makes up that negative balance and how to rectify that. All of what Vicki calls the teen fund balances are supposed to zero out and go away once the project is done. And because these still have a balance in them, they need to be addressed if they're not still a current project. We fixed some of the labeling errors between Fund 36 and 38 on the expenditure sheet. We did confirm that the law enforcement contract is $170,159 this year. Vicki and I went through detailed line by line on CDBG fund expenditures to make sure that we had an accurate number in there for what we thought the likely revenue was and what the actual expenses were going to be. And the majority of the expense that's in that line item is related to the final payments on the loan for the town square. So the last payment for that was made in January. We did do some pretty significant adjustments of the labor costs. I worked with Emily pretty extensively in making sure that the percentages that were being allocated into all the different funds was accurate for every single employee. And we delved down into how were they being posted, was how they were being posted, how we wanted them to be posted. We made some adjustments to those in the process. So I'm fairly confident that the labor numbers we have in there now by fund are correct. In the recreation department for 45, some of the modifications that we included was discontinuing the first 5 play group, and Emily has affected that as of the end of December. We're not going to do summer camp this year, and so that will mainly affect the May and June expenses for 25, 26, but it will also affect the July through August expenses for the following fiscal year that we are still going to be budgeting. So a lot of the savings that you'll have from removing that program, you'll see next fiscal year. She made changes to the skate program availability, and which events included a DJ to try to reduce expenses for recreation. You're doing great. You're right on. Some of the miscellaneous recommendations that we have are to reduce the free green waste drop-off day to just 1 in the spring, and to make sure that we publicize that well so people can prepare for it and do their trimmings and bring them down. We had just some kind of general operational cost savings that had to do with fridges and freezers and things that were left on during times that they weren't being used. And there was a lot of little things that they went through and made modifications for. All the porta potties were removed from Town Square and a second location, I can't remember what it is now.
Horse Arena.
The horse arena, there we go. To try to minimize the cost for that. And we have switched to the no charge trash bins for both trash and recycling for the City Hall area. They also are regulating the bathroom access to make sure that there's no misuse and vandalism down there. So some of the non-reoccurring expenditures that are in your budget when this being proposed is the last part of the severance payout for your former city manager, which was $18,750 in this fiscal year. The city manager recruitment services with Trepepe Smith was $16,000. That was their final cost. The health coverage assessment, the clawback that we're paying off, is $80,000, and we're splitting it evenly between the 2 fiscal years, so only $40,000 is in this budget. The cost for the special municipal election right now is in there at $15,000, and so there might be a little bit of cost savings in that one. And then for the 7th housing element consultant services, the budget currently includes $40,000 of a projected total $150,000. Now that's just a placeholder until we get an actual contract in place with a consultant in February. But we estimated that, if we bring them on at the end of February, the likelihood of them spending more than a third of the amount that they're going to have for a contract is unlikely. So that's the amount that's in there. So we have a couple of pie charts that just kind of show you visually what the different breakdowns are. You can see that, dental and vision is very, very small. Our general fund is 38% of the total. Wastewater is 23%, water is 24%, and our special funds total up to 15% for the revenues. The total revenues for the year in the budget is $2,806.49. Or no, $2,806,049. So then for our projected expenditures, the general fund is still 38%. The special funds are only 13%. Water is 27%, so that's more than its revenue. And wastewater is 22%. So our preliminary deficit going in for all of the funds is a negative $12,685, which is a significant bettering from the almost $300,000 we started with. So some of the surplus, or in some cases deficit by fund, is the general fund is estimated to have a deficit of $16,188. The special funds will have a surplus of $60,697. Water, concerningly, is a negative $82,185. Wastewater is a positive $24,991. But keep in mind, that's not the operational wastewater. That includes a very large interest payment on the fund balance that we have for infrastructure improvements. And then dental vision pretty much zeroes out every year. So for the general fund itself, you can see that it breaks out into a lot of little parts, but the majority of the money is spent in general government itself. Public Works takes up 17%, and Park Facilities is 17%, and Recreation is 20%. Oh, I should have told you, general government is 32%. All the rest of them are really small. They're like 2%, 1%. They're pretty small amounts. And some of these have a cost recovery that go with them, like for planning and for building especially. So the general fund deficit is expected to be $16,188. All right, so I don't know if you guys normally receive this information, but I added it to your resolution, and it's also a slide. Because I think it's really important for you to understand when you have funds where you are projecting a negative that you're gonna have a deficit in, you need to compare that deficit with your cash fund balance to make sure that you actually have the cash in that fund to be able to cover the deficit. So for the general fund, the estimated, and again, we have not done closing entries yet for 2025, so this might change a little bit in that process, but it's 895,000 and some change. The net draw is 16,000, so obviously we have plenty of money in that fund to be able to cover that. In water, our estimated July 1st balance is $429,000 and change, and the net draw is going to be $88,000 for operational deficit for water. Clearly an area the finance group is going to work on with me. But the anticipated cash balance is still $341,000, which is positive. Unfortunately, with sewer, it's a little bit of a different situation. The estimated fund balance for July 1st is a negative $213,000 already. An additional net draw of $19,000 puts you at $232,000 as your negative cash balance for the end of fiscal year 25-26. Worth noting is that this was identified in your rate study as a problem, and they made an effort in there to try to implement sewer rates that were high enough to offset this. And while it is getting better, it's not getting better as fast as they had hoped. So again, the water and sewer fund are going to be two of the areas that we work on pretty hard in the next few months with the finance committee. All right, I'm going to stop here and see if you have any questions before I move on to personnel.
Should we open up the public as well for this section, or should
I'm open
we-
to whatever you'd
Okay,
like.
great.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions so far? Any questions? And then you mentioned earlier about labor. I'm guessing that's going to be part of
Yeah,
personnel?
this whole personnel section is about labor.
Does anyone have questions about what you've seen so far in the budget?
Okay.
Seeing none, is anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Tracy and Julie.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two of us that have been waiting. I thought we were going to be looking at the slideshow through that. Is that still going to happen, or? We've only seen the title cover page this entire time. Yeah.
Right in?
Well, yeah, it was just really frustrating to not have the visuals, so I didn't know if that was happening next.
Okay. Is there any technical troubleshooting we can do right now?
No,
on
but
that?
I think in the future, if you guys are up for it, I will just post the slides on the website as soon as they're available.
Okay.
So that then people can see them beforehand.
Great, thank you.
Is
Sorry.
it- But
Great.
ideally, it would happen at another meeting while the presentation is happening,
Yeah,
correct?
Emily's working on trying to get it. Everything
Okay,
here-
great.
Yeah, it looks here like it should be working, so,
Are you sharing your screen?
yeah, it looks like it.
It's just the front, it's just the top page. I can't move it. You guys have to do that.
Sorry,
Anyway.
Tracy.
Okay.
Thank you. Julie, do you have anything?
Yeah, I understand where Tracy's sitting, but just so she knows too, that we actually had to delegate quite a while to even screen share stuff, so at least we got there. And yeah, I know you're having a little technical difficulty, but I think it goes back to one of our last meetings. Everything's shared very well with some of the graphics discussed tonight. I do understand like cutting a lot of the corners out. Now, one thing I know people might be like, oh gosh, we're not having Parks and Rec during the summer, but you know, the school has been doing kind of a free program for the kids during the summer, and that really took a lot of kids away from going to Parks and Rec during the summer. So just putting that out there for the public so they don't think that you know, there's not a resource or that you guys are cutting the kids short. Honestly, the school's kind of taken that over a little bit. And so the arena too, you know, one of the big, again, back to volunteering and pulling that thing up for public use. And thank you so much for the city. Still, that's how that property was donated to the city, was to be that public arena by Bill Rada. However, we had a neighbor in the back for a long time that even when we were offering to like put fence up, grow shrubbery, you know, they're really adamant about like the dust and stuff, which is really dependent on certain times and days. And then all that footing we get donated from these companies, and it's sand, and it's something that honestly, every time you're watering it, like you're just packing it down and making it worse. Like, so I know, there's been a lot of people jumping in, since I have with keeping the arena running. But I understand pulling the B&B during the winter time. That makes total sense. I help run the Cleveland Arena. We pull ours as well during the winter time. It's not financially something that's available. So going back to the fee schedule, maybe a little bit would be something we can tie into real quick for Parks and Rec here shortly. That's kind of tying into a lot of the budgeting as well, is getting that fee schedule done. And I'm sorry, you know, I just want the public to know too that as much as the outlook tonight's kind of a glim, it's been kind of rolling in that way without much public disclosure. Now we're just able to kind of get it out there and move forward with it. And the next thing is too, every other city is suffering, the county's suffering, the state's suffering, everything's suffering. So don't put any prejudice on this particular council for our financial situation. But we definitely have a good crew to make it work. So thank you all, and we'll just keep trucking. Look into as many grants as possible, obviously, right now is probably our biggest thing. Public can help with that too.
Thank you. Do we lose-
You know, I did come up with a question, and that is about the green waste. So there's one green waste day on this,
In the spring.
in the spring.
In
And
this
so for the next budget, we could talk about having green waste in the late summer and fall. Okay.
Any further public comment? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to council.
Okay, so personnel. What you have before you, and it's really small on the slide, this is what it looks like in real life, and if anybody wants to look at it, they're more than welcome to look at mine, but I'm gonna use it as an example for a minute. So this plan is called a classification pay plan. It's required by PERS to be adopted by the council each year with an effective date. We use the exact same plan for all of the staff people that you adopted on May 13th of 2025, except we removed the acting city manager and added the actual city manager. Other than that, it's exactly the same. We did have to take let me make sure I call this the right thing, the recreation specialist, because minimum wage went up and we were paying less at level 1 than minimum wage. So that particular one has been adjusted, so the bottom is minimum wage and all the rest of them are still 3% higher. Other than that, there aren't really any changes. We checked to make sure that all the rounding was correct, and if it was iffy, we rounded them up by a penny. And there is, it's okay. All right, good.
Okay.
There is no proposed cost of living adjustment in this budget, but that is something that I intend on including in the next one, because the city's been using step increases as a way of trying to keep up with inflation. But the problem is, I've got people that are out here towards the end, and that's not a reasonable way to be able to proceed with long-term staff. So we really are gonna have to look at revisiting like how this is set up and how COLA's been applied to it over the last few years.
Can I ask a
And if
question?
anybody wants to look at that, they're more
Can I
than
ask a
welcome.
question on that before you move on?
Sure.
I know Eureka uses like a 5-step program for employees and then just does living wage increases or
Yeah.
standard increases. Is that something we could look at in the future too?
It is. 13 is a lot. The only place I've ever worked that has that many is the government, with the federal government, like they had 50. This is a lot.
Okay.
We might want to put more than 3% between the steps, because if we're giving a COLA increase every year, you're not trying to keep it to match inflation. You're really wanting to give them a merit increase. So, yeah. All right, so the first thing that you're going to see here is the first existing organizational chart, and it is in your packet, slightly larger than it is on the TV. Some of the things that I would like to point out, I think if you push the button, some things will point out. This is so tiny on this. Is that the Assistant Parks and Rec Director is a full-time position on here. And we have modified the recreational specialist in the next section. Dude, that is so hard to see on this. Okay,
We need a bigger
so,
screen.
okay, there you go, it's way better on there. So,
looking at it on my phone, under the agenda.
you know, it looks so good on the screen when you're looking at it this big. The recreational specialist staff that we have right now equates to approximately 1.5 full-time equivalent employees. This is a whole group of people who are basically skate staff. And they all work between 10 and 12 hours a week or something. So this is not one person, this is a whole group of people. But you can see that in the Parks and Rec department, we have Emily as the director, and we have an assistant, and then we have a recreational coordinator that's a half-time person, and then 1.5 for the specialist, totaling 4. In the finance department, we currently have our accounting consultant, which has been Jackson and Eklund, and then we have our new finance manager. We have an office assistant that's half-time. She comes in just in the mornings. We have a half-time administrative accounting specialist that is a half-time person. She also just works in the mornings. And then we had an administrative account specialist that we show as 0.9 because the way that the positions here are set up is they're 0 to 10 hours, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, or 20 to 29, and 30 to 39. And then full-time is this separate designation that's 40. And so the person that had this position was in the 30 to 39 category. She pretty much worked 39 hours every single week and couldn't hardly keep up. So one of the proposed changes that I'm asking for is for this to become a full-time position so that that person gets the full benefits. One of the differences between the 30 to 39 and the full-time 40 is instead of getting 6 hours for a holiday, they get the full 8. And there's just some really small nuances, but it's not a big financial difference. But it does make a difference when you're offering a job to somebody that you can say, this is a full-time benefited job with, full PERS benefits and stuff. So that's one of the suggestions that I am requesting that you approve. The other thing that we are changing is Emily felt like she could reduce the number of recreational specialists that she had from 1.5 to 1.25 in light of some of the changes she was making to the skate program itself. And so that's part of where you're seeing the cost savings in the recreational line items. The rest of this pretty much is as it is now. I will tell you that in light of what we found out from our accountant on Friday, that we're going to do a hard look at what the finance department should be structured like and how much of what the accountant does do we want to bring in-house with the higher level finance manager that we have hired, and whether we can add maybe a half-time accounting specialist that then can take some of the day-to-day bookkeeping items off of that finance manager's plate and give her more space in her schedule to be able to take some of the accountant's work, which would be financially beneficial to the city. The accountant is definitely more expensive than any of our staff. So that's the section there on the organizational chart. And we have what we call the position allocation table. You're supposed to actually be adopting one of these every year, it turns out. So we have created one that has the information for last year on it, and you'll see the total full-time equivalence is 13.15. And with the modifications that we're proposing, it becomes 13.75. Okay, so my recommendation is that you approve Resolution 1251 that adopts the revised final budget, or that you amend it as needed to be able to adopt this budget tonight.
Great. Any questions?
A small question on your org chart.
Okay.
The current position is as finance manager, and I think you're looking at some of the credentials of CPA or renewing your CPA. Is there a consideration on retitling it like finance director? Is that
There
an
would be
appropriate language?
possibly, depending on what duties end up in that job.
Okay.
It's really hard, today was our second day, to really evaluate the magnitude of what that job is going to consist of. And the other thing that truly is difficult is most of the other administrative account specialists have been picking up the slack for the city clerk. And so like what those jobs are gonna look like once our city clerk comes, we're just not really quite sure yet. And so I think as a group, once we're there for, 6 or 8 weeks, we're gonna have a much better idea.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have some comments about this. First of all, I really appreciate all of the work that's been done on this. And moving things around, the deficit was pretty big. And to see just all of the work, other things came in during the year, the insurance costs, lots of things that everybody just did an amazing job being able to rein this in without too much harm. And I really appreciate beginning to move things in-house, because that was something that I know the ad hoc and, everybody's been concerned about, and it shows. Not only was the accountant sick before, and that made it really difficult because we couldn't get the numbers because we didn't have them in-house. And so to be moving to a position where we're bringing that back here is super important, because we can get and have that information quickly. And we were spending between 60, I think it was about 60-something thousand to 77,000 a year for the accountant. And so I think in the long run, we're going to fare better financially and be able to have that information right here. And I think that'll be super. I'm so excited about that. And I'm really excited about having a city clerk and bringing all that stuff back here.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Ditto.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public. Does the public wish to comment on this part of the budget? Yes, Adeline, go ahead.
Yeah, I just was made aware when I was looking at the budget here that our new city manager is now making $117,998. The last city manager, who was ousted about a year ago, a little less, was making $90,000. That means this new city manager has made a contract that is almost $28,000 more a year. Also, in looking at that annual salary, it looks like she is then going to get from 117 to 121, a raise of $4,000 every year. I don't know how long you have signed her for, but it looks like it's pretty consistently $4,000 a year. I just want to register my, disappointment, I guess, in these figures. I mean, we're talking about cutting costs, and yet you have contracted with a manager $28,000 more than who you ousted last year. I just want to register my disappointment in that.
Thank you. Further public comment? Seeing no more, and we got it. Just making sure nobody's on there. Great. All right. Do we want to entertain a motion or ask any additional questions?
Can I just comment on
sure.
something that should have been in here that isn't? When you make your motion for number 3 for the classification pay schedule, if you could please be specific that its effective date is January 5th of 2026 to match with when you hired the city manager for PERS.
January 5th, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah. Vicki pointed that out to me today. I need a date, so.
Any other questions? Motion?
I will move to approve the organization chart as presented, approve the classification pay plan effective date January 5th, 2026, and approve resolution number 1251, fiscal year 2025-26 budget adoption.
We have a motion made by Louis Lusso. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Scafani. All those,
Did we get that date in there?
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes.
Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the next item,
Now we're
which
at
is item
17.
number 17, which, of course, is not on the page I'm looking at right now.
That wasn't so
House-
hard, was it? There we go. Where are we?
We are on the presentation by the ad hoc committee to present our findings on our commissions. Councilmember Napier, would you mind initiating this, or do you need a moment to gather your papers?
Just one quick sec to get to those papers, please.
Great. I'd like to say that me and Kat definitely spent a significant amount of time reviewing our commissions, looking at overlaps, looking at frequency of meetings, how successful they were able to establish a quorum. We have brought forward our findings to present to you in hopefully a manner that we can look at how to either continue as they are, make them more efficient, and have them have a higher success rate of having meetings. Councilmember Napier, do you want to
Yeah.
take a look and begin presenting?
I think something that we'd seen echoed recently by Jill when she was here, and I think maybe even Jenny has experienced this as well, is the impact on staff, the demand on staff to be able to service and support the various commissions. And, you know, what I'd seen when I looked at other municipalities of our size or even larger, like for instance, Arcata, they have one or two commissions, but what they do instead is when they have a specific project or aspect that they want to look at, they develop a committee for that. And not just an ad hoc committee, you know, it'll be a more fleshed out committee of citizens, but it kind of works with a more specific purpose. What we have here is we have council meetings that are going once or twice a month. That would be city clerk time and staff time. Then we have the planning commission, which also is clerk time and staff time. Then we have the other four commissions, which also meeting monthly or are supposed to meet monthly. And when you look at those, that is like 6 or 7 meetings a month to have to prepare agendas for, to do the posting for. And with some of these commissions, commissioners are just kind of dumping handwritten notes on office staff and expecting them to put together an agenda. And I don't think that was a level of support that really had been expected or built in when those commissions were formed. We also are at, you know, a time where we have a lot of budget constraints, and I think for the foreseeable future, that's going to be the way that it is. We have differences. All of the commissions were formed at different times, different ways. They kind of have different rules. Some are subtle, some are, you know, kind of close to the same. And some of them, you know, they might be specific to, like for instance, appointing the commissioners, but then there's some of that don't even have any provision for removing commissioners. We'd seen, and this is included in your packet, I don't know if it's necessary to read what you guys can read for yourselves, but I think the largest issues that we've identified with commissions is the cost and the demand on staff time, which prevents them from being able to do other parts of their primary duties. And then we have a lack of quorum, which is really has been happening for years and years, that they either just can't make a quorum and or at the last minute the meeting is canceled. So, you know, if you have what essentially would be 27 commissioners and 10 advisory members, that's 37 people to try to, you know, possibly get organized every month and be in attendance for a population of 1,100 people, you could see where it would begin to wobble and fall short of the mark.
So me and Kat looked at a couple of different examples, or generated a couple of different scenarios where we consolidated everything but the planning commission, which we cannot legally do. We also looked at consolidating Parks and Rec, Arts and Heritage, and Economic Development into a single commission. We didn't bring those to present to you tonight because we wanted input from you guys before we presented those to you. We came up with a couple scenarios for that, but again, we wanted input from you guys before we brought those items forward. Do you guys wish to give any input on what we brought forward so far, or would you like to hear more about what we developed?
Yeah, I would like to learn a little bit more about some of the consolidation, your ideas, just expand on that a little bit, on what that would look like.
Sure. So we looked at one model which was all of them except the planning combined, and it had, I think, 11 members in it. We also had one that had 9. There were a couple different variations on it, but we expanded the size beyond 5 to make sure that there was a large enough public input surface area to take information from the public, as we're conducting our daily lives in Blue Lake. It also would allow, we don't want to restrict it to 5 members. We want to expand it beyond that.
So am I to understand that the economic development, arts and heritage, and parks and rec, every commissioner would be all 3?
Correct.
Okay.
If we went with that model.
Just wanted to.
I think there's a lot of overlap with those 3. You can see, I don't think that graph made it into our slides, but the one that showed all the overlap.
Oh, yeah.
There was a considerable amount of overlap between those. Plus, it also potentially would allow them to do fundraising, because I believe Parks and Rec can do fundraising. Isn't that correct, Emily?
Yes.
So that would allow those other, arts and heritage and economic development to do fundraising alongside Parks and Rec. So it would just expand the functionality of a single commission.
I would suspect that this model would include an overall reworking of the charters and purpose of that combination, and then a reapplication process for all.
Correct, and that's why we wanted to bring this forward beforehand, before we had all these people coming forward for appointment. However, just due to all the city business that's been going on, it didn't make it to our agenda in time.
Sure. Interesting concept.
Any
Well,
comments?
I think a combination advisory commission has merit. I think that I'm a little foggy on how we would pull that together exactly. And then just in terms of logistics, right now, we have a room full of people that are here to be considered for appointment to our existing commissions. I think that if we were to do a combination, it's gonna take us a period of weeks or months to create and solidify that.
Right.
So that in the meantime, it seems logical that we would continue with our commissions in the structure that they exist. In any case, anywhere that we are able to form a quorum, that we should go forward with that. And also possibly consider for those existing commissions, whether or not they need or want to have a meeting absolutely every month. If perhaps they'd rather alternate, I think that's a perfectly logical option as well. Or maybe two commissions would meet on even numbered months and 2 commissions on odd numbered months or something like that, just to kind of even out the workload.
Those were some other ideas that we were going to bring forward as well. Those were some initial concepts that Kat came up with.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think this idea is worth exploring a little more.
Would you like us to bring forward a more constructed platform next time for you guys to review with some of these ideas?
I would love that. I would love like a more focused presentation that would expand on some of the elements with proposed changes, just to look at the model.
Okay.
So if we could agendize that. Would be,
Well, with maybe some input from the public and, you know, how they feel about making some changes.
Yeah.
I do see that it's difficult. And it does seem that people step forward and, you know, but it is also a lot of meetings even for the public to attend. So if they're trying to attend this and look at the planning commission and all of this that's going on, if they were trying to keep up with that, that would be a lot of time. And I know just by talking to some community members saying it's hard to even be able to sit and watch a city council meeting. So
Sure.
trying to streamline or look at ways we might be able to combine because we are such a small city, but what does that look like? And being able to make sure we're, I think, definitely working no matter which way we go on cleaning up some of, so there's more continuity in the language and the purpose and how it all works. Yeah.
Right, and this really started with kind of uniformity across all of the commissions, and then kind of has expanded since then, since we've had a large drop-off of our members, and also just meeting infrequency. Councilmember Napier, do you want to
No,
add anything else?
no, I think you've got it. No.
Does the public wish to comment on this? Yes, Marty, go ahead.
Marty Granger. I love this idea. It makes total sense to me. And maybe even the Safety Commission being combined. I mean, the Parks and Recreation has to consider safety. Businesses have to consider safety. So that would be even better yet, but it just makes a lot of good sense. I like the idea of combining them.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Yes, Lynn Glenn, go ahead.
Hi, Lynn Glenn, Public Safety Commissioner. I have a lot of questions, actually, because this is a whole new model, and it differs quite a bit from what we've been doing in the city. First of all, I'm wondering, do you have any models of this combined commission that you've looked at and how that would actually work? I'm thinking, well, who would want to be on that commission? What kind of skill sets are you looking for? You know, is one person who's really interested in arts and heritage, like they have an arts background, do they really want to spend a lot of time talking about, you know, Parks and Rec? You know, I don't know. But that would be one question, if there is a model, and how does it work in the real world? And then how much money would the city save, is what I would wonder. I assume you made a projection of the cost that would actually be saved for the city. And then I was looking at Arcata just now, and I see they do have 2 commissions and then a lot of committees. They have like 8 committees. And I'm wondering, how does a committee function in the city versus a commission? I could see some advantages, I think, to that model, but I don't know how it actually works in Arcata, and I'd be curious as to how you might think it would work in Blue Lake. Now, some more information would be really good.
Great, thank you. Any other public comments?
I'm sorry, but I can't hear you or Terry.
Yeah, okay,
I have
yep,
a hearing
talking
problem
louder.
And you're whispering.
Okay, sorry.
I said
work on that.
any other public comments?
I'm not hearing the whole meeting. I'm not hearing you.
Okay,
Yeah, people need to learn to project. Of course, I have really enjoyed being a public safety commissioner this past year, and I'd like to continue, but we'll see how that goes. Through the years, we've formed these. Of course, the Planning Commission is something that's by law, but the idea, we've had a Park and Recreation Commission for many years. That's how I started out in the city government, actually, back in the 1980s. And then adding the public safety and economic development, really, they don't have overlapping. I don't see the overlapping. And then the last commission we had was the Arts and Heritage. And again, that pulled in the art community that we have in this town that's so vital, and so many good professional artists. So, one of the hard things about being a commissioner is oftentimes we aren't valued as much as we should be. And I think it's really important to value your commissioners, to let them operate in their own expertise as they have their meetings. We take our own minutes, so there's no cost to that. And then there's just the paper and the every other month idea might be good, and that sometimes happens just out of necessity because we don't have a quorum. But I don't think 5 commissions is that unusual for a city this size.
Thank you. Other comments? Yes, Justin, go ahead.
Having experience trying to get together a large group of people to have a meeting, I've held meetings of over 150 people where all 150 people had to speak. As you add people, you exponentially add difficulty to a meeting. This is coming from personal experience. I've done this. I don't think it's worth it, in my personal opinion, to separate them out. You're going, just logistically speaking, think of 11 people. I mean, you guys have 5, 6, 7 people there now. You're gonna add another table over here. We have 8 microphones. You're already behind there. Logistically speaking, holding an 11-person commission, and then you have to have half in order to have an actual meeting. So you have to have a quorum, so you're talking 5 people have to be there. Trying to run the chamber with 7 and 8 people, it's hard enough to get a quorum just with those. You're running up to 11 people, it's gonna get difficult to do. I mean, you guys do what you want, but I'll caution you, anytime you add even just one more person, it gets more difficult. And you're talking about doubling the size of a commission. And I would just caution you to be careful, because you're asking for a lot of work out of those people that are gonna be taking part of that commission.
Thank you, Justin. And just to clarify, we looked at 11, 9, and 7 as all options for that. We didn't want to, slim it down to nothing. Any other comments? Julie, go ahead.
Thank you. I hope you guys can still hear me okay. Bringing back to the table, this is a discussion and recommendation item. I do appreciate it was brought forward while we have a new batch of candidates coming in, because their terms, if we bring this back with recommendations, could be affected by it. So I think that was a very good call. I have had public comment much prior to you guys sitting, so I'm going to repeat it. Elise might have heard this in the past, perhaps Justin. Our commissions have been hard to fill. We had huge gaps in times with big timelines without a planning commission. So to go from the tier down, we have to have planning commission as an individual entity. We know that you guys are already in a position that if we don't have a quorum or we have a deadline, they can't meet, since anyways, they're only giving you a recommendation. It's great to have their review ahead of time. You guys are the final office at yays or nays. So I think knowing that as well, that things come to you as recommendations, but planning commission is automatically got a seat at the table, period. Individual entity that needs to be commission filled. So thank you for the applicants tonight for the planning commission. As we move down the tier, we really should be looking at Parks and Rec as an individual entity as well. As we move down the tier, we run into public safety, economic, and arts and heritage. I do feel like public safety and economic could evolve to be something together, that we still are incorporating arts and heritage as well. However, the focus of that commission wouldn't be in excess of members. It would just be then Economic Safety Commission. We could just call it that, with incorporating the aspects of anybody that would love to sit on those 3 commissions. Let's get a powerhouse in there. that we are getting the recommendations we need to this council now, and that you guys can give recommendations to them as needed as well. But I do think if we could consolidate, we'd be going with our planning, our Parks and Rec, and then safety is always number one, but we need economics as well. Arts and heritage can blend from there. But so the recommendation tonight would obviously be maybe just listen to everybody in the house, like Elise said, they're here, let's get these commissions rolling. But let's also get this dialogue back out sooner than later because of budgeting and everything, that we have a good like production of what makes the most sense. So maybe on everybody's commission meeting, as they're joining up and selecting their new dates and times, one of the agenda items that every commission meeting could have with the outside of planning and Parks and Rec is for the other three is like, do you guys think you could combine it? Do you think that we could make these three work together in a unified way? So that'd be my suggestion. Thank you.
Julie. Any further public comment? All right, I'll bring it back to council.
I think that there are some great ideas that we're talking about, and I can see where there's some overlap in relationships between arts and heritage, and we have an art school here, and Parks and Rec, and developing some activities to generate people coming into town, and there's a lot of overlap of ideas and concepts and concerns. And I like the idea. I would just like to see this come back with a few more concrete examples and ideas with that. And again, with the absences and shortages of some of the commissions that we've had lately, we haven't been able to have meetings because of lack of quorum. And so I don't know. I think it's a model that deserves a little more attention.
And just so everyone is aware, when we began looking at this, our commissions were absolutely, people were leaving, so we're like, okay, well, maybe we need to consolidate.
Now we have more people coming on board, interested. I love it.
So we may just stick with the old plan. It was just an idea that we had and we wanted to bring forward for more input from you guys and the community. Yes, Emily, go ahead.
As a staff member, I would say my input is to review the ordinances or resolutions. I'm not sure what it is, but for each commission that establishes when it was founded and its primary duties. I know I've seen the one for Parks and Rec, and I believe they exist for the other commissions. But if you're looking at combining them to really review and see where they overlap, because I'd assume we'd have to repeal those if we're gonna put forward something new. And second, thinking about if you do want a city staff member being a liaison there, like for me in Parks and Rec, who else may that be other than just Jenny and I? If there are other city staff members you'd like to see help head these commissions.
Great.
Those are my input.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments? All right. Sorry.
I have a question.
Sure.
I wonder if we could have joint meetings of two commissions, where we, or what's involved in doing that? Because I know that it's possible to have, a joint meeting of a commission and a council, but I'm wondering if we might not try this out by having a few joint meetings, like have the economic development and the Parks and Rec commissions kind of team up for a meeting and see what they, see what kind of discussion happens, see what kind of ideas, see how people feel about it.
I don't know that they could vote is the thing on the items specifically since it's not, it's not in our ordinance for them to
They'd
do
probably
that.
each have to have their own agenda, and then the commission could vote on the agenda items that's on their own agenda, even if they're in the same, or make a combined.
Or if they did like a study session together.
We'd have
so
to
that
look
they
at
were
what that
having a
would take, but-
conversation.
That's an idea we could bring forward as a hybrid model or a test model, maybe once we kind of come up with the potential before we revamp everything.
All right. Yeah, just for what it's worth, in our history, we have had other commissions that have formed and then they have fallen by the wayside and no longer exist. And to your point, Emily, and what Jill also had shared as well, is typically you just have an ordinance on a formation of a commission. Then in that formation is when it's specified what that commission might do. That way, you're not having this ordinance, that ordinance, that ordinance, for what really essentially is a same activity but different focus.
And I think looking at some of the models, even in other cities, where even within the city and say from the council and the community, you are driving what the priorities are for the community and for the city. And that's actually, solidified in some kind of a document. Then I think it's easier for commissions to be able to step up, to be able to look at what those visions are and things for the city. And so it's not, you bring that all together so everyone's working on the same kinds of issues, not same kinds, but you're all working towards a common goal in the city, so.
Well, we'll go ahead and bring some of those finalized ideas and thoughts forward and see if we can, you guys want to pick a path that we want to go down.
Okay, great.
All right. Moving on to the next. What was that? Oh, do you mind, we're going to take a quick break before we move on to the next item, which is the appointment process. 5 minutes. Sorry, everybody.